it's going to only get a rough draft. And we want the brain to actively engage with us. So I'm wanting you to put up your hand. Now, you haven't got a glove yet, but imagine you've got a glove. And I'm wanting you to say, in this glove, I am going to have the top of my head, this part here. So if I was standing next to it like this would be the top of my head. Here in the front would be this green part, the prefrontal cortex. If I lift up, in other words, if I was to peel the skull back like so, you would see in the middle of my brain here, my emotional brain, my limbic brain. And this limbic brain holds the whole emotional sense of the brain. We want that to open up, and then inside here you have the survival brain. And the survival brain, or the brain stem, you'll see that the emotional brain wraps around it. Okay, you open up that emotional, here comes the brain stem coming down the spine, going all the way right down to the elbow. So let's just move on to what I want us to understand is the gut-gut-heart-brain connection. So let's get this right. Let's imagine that's your head and this is your butt, okay? So the butt is your elbow. You're sitting down now. I want you to actually just stand up and face your computer. Now, if you're watching with someone else, tell them to stand up. If you're on your own, remember, teaching is theater. So you need to be able to practice. I want you to actually give your bottom a pat, all right? Just pat your bottom, play a little bit of song on your backside, all right? That's your butt. Now, as we run down our spine to our elbow, this is the butt. And the butt is very important because the butt is connected to the gut, which is connected to the heart, which is connected to the brain. So say this with me. If your bum is numb, your brain is dumb. Let's say it again because I didn't hear you. And I'm right out here in Noordhoek, Cape Town, and I need to hear you saying that with me. If your bum is numb, your brain is dumb. So movement is essential. Let's get that movement moving. As you sitting watching a webinar, I sat in an international webinar yesterday for a whole day. I had to get up. I had to move. I had to feel as though I could get some oxygen into my lungs and get the oxygen from my lungs up into the blood system so it could flow up into the brain so that I could take notes, because these people that were speaking were brilliant speakers from around the world, and I needed to capture that data. If my bum is numb, my brain is dumb. So let's go from our bum. Now you can sit down because we're going to look at your gut. Okay, don't show it on the screen. We don't want to see your gut now. And my staff here have told me that I should not stand sideways either to show you my gut. But I want you to know that in the gut, situated about here, all right, is 100 million brain cells. So your brain is in your gut. The children coming to school every day are feeling the effects of the pandemic in their gut. Their stomachs are sore. They are anxious. And what happens in that gut, in those 100 million nerve cells, neurons, brain type cells in that second brain, the gut produces over 90% of our calming drug, serotonin. So if the gut is not calm, if our diet is not good, if we are not exercising, we are going to have a problem with our children. Let's move a little bit further. The heart. We have 40,000 brain cells in our heart. This heart thinks, feels, and decides. Let's just recap. Because remember, repetition is so good for the brain in different contexts. So maybe change to your other hand now. This is my butt. This is my gut. My butt is numb. My brain is dumb. I must be moving. Here is my gut. 100 million brain cells in my gut producing serotonin, the calming drug. Going up to my heart, 40,000 brain cells in my heart. My brain cells talking, my heart is talking up to my brain via the vagus nerve. I've got to be aware that what I feel is going to determine how I think. And we're in the business of thinking. As teachers and educators and parents, we're in the business of thinking. And if we cannot feel, we're going to affect our brain. And then we get to the actual brain. 100 billion nerve cells in the brain. Here's the bad news. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so we drop down to about 86 billion by the time we're 24, 25. Use it or lose it. So schools have to be places not where curriculum is delivered, but where children and students are taught to think. And one of the reasons I just love collaborating with Think Ahead is just because of their name, Think Ahead. That is what we don't want children to learn. You can learn to drive a car and we can have the highest death toll on the roads in the world. We're not about learning, we're about thinking. And we need them to be able to get that gut right. So let's just summarize quickly. Make sure you've got it with me. If my bum is numb, my brain is, I didn't hear it, you got to say it, is dumb. Movement is essential. Let's go to the gut. 100 million nerve cells in my second brain, the gut. The heart, 40,000 nerve cells in my heart. So my heart is talking to my brain. And of course, in the brain, there's 100 billion nerve cells that are sending messages and embedding information. So the incoming data that you are receiving every single day comes from the 5 far senses and the 2 near senses. Now, I want to talk about those 5 far senses because we've got teachers on this webinar ranging from ECD teachers all the way up to parents and to educators who are working with adults. Everything that your brain is receiving from my talk is coming to you from your 5 far senses and your 2 near senses. The first 3 I want to look at is sight. What's happened in this pandemic? We've decided to take a mask and cover our face. Now, we know from science that it's absolutely essential that we cover the face to prevent spreading this virus. But for those of us who are involved in early learning know that unless the child can see the mouth, they are going to battle with the visual discrimination that is necessary. So the B and the P, the th and the f, those are all absolutely essential in the development of language. And so what teachers are doing is that there may be a tendency to start assessing children on their ability to do things that the brain can't do because it's not receiving the sensory information at this time. I went out and bought this mask that has got a see-through mouth, and my staff told me that I looked like Hannibal Lecter. So, but it was an attempt to see if we could find something that could help children see the mouth of their teacher. And also, it sends very powerful nonverbal signs. That smile in the morning. Oh, if you haven't bought yourself a paper mask that you can draw a big smiley face on, or embroider it, or crochet, or whatever you do, put a smile on your mask, because children want to see their teacher smiling. And of course, touch. Touch is such an important, it's a language all in its own. Incredible research from Berkeley University on touch. They made students put their hand through a wall. And with that hand through the wall, they got a student on the other side to try and express 12 emotions on that hand, on that arm. You know what is fascinating? Of those 12 emotions, 55 to 60% of the people who participated could express the emotion of gratitude, sympathy, and love simply by touch. And we know that in a pandemic, we need people to feel that they loved, feel that they connected, because when you're connected, you can think. And of course, there's smell, and of course, there's taste. We don't have to spend too much time on that. And then, of course, the two near senses, our vestibular system, which helps us to balance. It keeps our head off the ground. We know that when we fall, the vestibular system tells us we're falling, and so we try and keep our head up. That's very important. That's why ECD, grade R, grade 1, grade 2, there has to be trampolines in the school so that they can just know their place in space. Because we're so quick to find the learning disability instead of finding the opportunity to develop the vestibular system. And of course, our proprioceptors, which are all over our bodies, which we can feel things and information. I mean, a lovely tip, just do it with me quickly now, and I'm watching the time, so I won't take too long, but just close your eyes while you're watching this very quickly. Take your index finger and just touch your nose. All right. Now, close your eyes and touch your ear. Now, close your eyes and touch your chin. Now, touch the camera on your computer. You see, there is no proprioceptor on your computer, so your finger could not find it. The proprioceptors keep us all incredibly connected. When we get up to the top, this data is coming from the 5 far senses and the 2 near senses, and it's come in and it hits Marufat. Marufat is the crocodile. All right, the crocodile that sits here. I've brought my crocodile with over here. All right, here's Marufat the crocodile. He sits right over here at the entrance of the brain and says, I am watching over you. Now, let me tell you about Marufat. He's mindless, he's automatic, he's reactive, he's unconscious, and he's fast and dirty. He's going to get you into trouble. He's the one that swears, he's the one that gives the finger, he's the one that will run, he's the one that will freeze because he doesn't know how to react. And you never know how your Marufat is going to respond. Going up to the next level is your elephant. Now, what you need to know is that Marufat, as these data from the 5 far senses and the 2 near senses, Marufat will not allow the data to go anywhere near thinking if it does not feel safe. If you do not feel safe, you will not connect. If we want to restore connection, we've got to create a place of safety. And here comes the problem. Teachers have to feel safe. Children have to feel safe. Parents have to feel safe about themselves and about their children. The community has to feel safe, and none of us are finding it easy to feel safe. But teachers are frontline workers, and we're on the stage of this pandemic. And we need to send this powerful message to every child that enters our school in whatever situation we find ourselves, that you're safe. You're safe here. Because the moment you feel safe, Marufa says, you can go up to the elephant. And when you get up into the elephant, over here is Ruru. We call Ruru because Ruru's job is to recognize the emotions you're feeling. You need to understand that emotion. You need to regulate that emotion, and you need to use that emotion effectively. The power of Ruru is incredible. If you do not feel safe and you do not have a sense of belonging, you will get nowhere near your prefrontal cortex. Ruru has 2 flappy ears on the side. Do you see those big blue ears? Neuroscientists call them the amygdala. On either side of our brains, about here, are our amygdala. It's the library of all the emotions. You know, one of the problems that we have is that we have all our memories stored in our amygdala. Now, let me tell you, I'm a little advanced in years, but when I was a child, play was important. School was just an interruption to play. We would play and then have to go to school to come home to play. And when we played cowboys, the baddie always wore a mask. When Ruru sees someone in a mask, when my Ruru sees someone in a mask, I don't feel safe. I know we have to be wearing a mask, and I'm not challenging that. I know that I would prefer the mask to be see-through so that we can see the face, but we've got to create a place where we feel safe, because if we don't, the amygdala hijacks that incoming data from the 5 far senses and the 2 near senses. And when it hijacks it, it sends it straight back. Ruru absolutely becomes bewildered and says, I'm not allowing that in. You're not entering into my space. Get out, and goes straight down into the survival brain. And the survival brain behaves bad and says, I'm not learning. You see, mood determines behavior. So one of the greatest restorations of connection is to improve the mood in our school. We've got to create places of laughter. It was so nice having Mike play music as we all entered the room today. That music was designed to improve the mood. It would be so nice if we could have all our faces on the screen now, and we could be talking to each other, and we could be waving each other, we could be doing Zip the Crocodile together, because that determines the mood. When we can share with each other that we're enjoying it, when we're showing signs to each other, good signs, not bad signs, we improve the mood. So connect with the elephant, build a relation, inspire and calm. And then finally, right at the top, we've got to meet the CEO. The CEO is at the top. It's our prefrontal cortex right over here. Now, as you're holding your hand, won't you just turn it over? We don't want to make it a rude sign here, so we're going to try and keep it flat, but just lift that middle finger. Do you see if you miss it? There you will see peeping out. I'm trying desperately hard to make this not an inappropriate sign, but right underneath that middle finger is the hippocampus, which is the gateway into the CEO. And when the hippocampus says, I feel safe, I feel loved, I have a sense of belonging, you get right up into the CEO. We call it the top wife, because up there, the big 7 happen. Time management happens up here. Organization, prioritization, working memory, impulse control, flexibility, empathy, all happens in the prefrontal cortex. And when you look at those 7, that's what that's what thinking is all about. Managing things on time, being organized, prioritizing, getting that working memory. It's so important for reading and maths in place. You will never read. You will never read. You'll never be able to work with number if you don't feel safe and you don't feel loved. If you don't feel safe and you don't have a sense of belonging. If you don't feel safe and you don't feel worthy when you look into the mirror. We need whole brain people. And I'm going to encourage you as teachers, school leaders, parents, whatever role you're playing at the moment in this society, loan your prefrontal cortex to your children and your students. Think for them, help them through their time management, give them guidelines, advise them, constantly helping them with all those essential big 7. You see, we want the data to flow from the top down. The thinking brain must cause a response. When we flip our lid, we work this way. And when we work this way, we come up and we have no control. We need Ruru in, we need the crocodile zipped. So we have whole brain teachers, whole brain students. We want them to feel safe. We want them to have a sense of belonging and calm. And then the CEO closes down and I can access my executive brain. I want to encourage you to teach your children to zip their crocodile. Keep Marufat under control. We can't live without him. We'd all be dead if he wasn't there. He keeps us alive because he's mindless, he's automatic, he's unconscious. He doesn't say, breathe now. He just breathes for us. But we've got to keep him under control by zipping him. Go out and make a difference. Thank you.